But talk about the two of you. When did you first meet David?
I first met Dave we were putting together a band for the Rolling Thunder Revue, which is a show that went out in about 1975. It's like a bicentennial year, I think, and it was going to be by 76. And we were putting together a band in the other end, or the bitter end, coffee house in New York, and it was just kind of an improvisational band that walked through the door. I mean, people were coming from right and left, and Stoner walked through the door, and I'd known him playing bluegrass with John Harold, so I said, "Hey, how would you like to be in the band, play the bass?" And he said, "Sure." And then Steve Soules walked in the door. I said, "How would you like to sing harmony?" He said, "Sure." And we were playing the next door on a honky-tonk stage, And, one by one, we just sent for T-Bone he was down in Texas. I said, "Come on up here, man. We're getting drunk every night and playing music in the village. You'd like this. Come on up." And he said, "Oh, I don't know." So I sent him a ticket, and he came up, and he got in the band. And then Stoner said, "I know a left-handed piano player named Howie Wyeth." I said, "Well, bring him in, man. I love left-handed piano players." So he said, "He's a drummer, too." So we had a drummer, left-handed piano player. And then, then one night, Mott the Hoople came in, Yeah, Hunter, and Ronson was with them. Mick Ronson was with them. They were sitting out in the audience there. And I spotted Ronson. I said, "Hey, man, you play the guitar? Get up here on the stage." And he said, "Oh, I play, man." I said, "Well, it's in the key of G, don't worry." So, he was one of those guys who would bend his, like third string on the guitar, the G, he'd bend it all the way up under the E string and just take the skin off his hands. He was like, nothing stopped Ronson. And he is a great guitar player and would have, a great producer as well. And so finally, we had the stage littered with guitars and confusion, and I said, this band would be perfect if we had a fiddle player. And, afterwards in the dressing room, this little girl came up to me and she said, "My boyfriend plays the fiddle." I said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, he plays the fiddle." I said, well, tell him to come down tomorrow night. So, the next night, a 17-year-old kid walks in the back room, with a big Jufro haircut, and and David was living with Jenny and another girl. He's living on the west side he was in a band called Quacky Duck, and
Famous Quacky Duck.
living with two girls. At 17. This is New York City, ladies and gentlemen. This is a different reality. And he had his fiddle case with him, and I said, "Well, play something." He took it out and he started tuning it up. I said, "Can you play anything classical?" He said, "Not really." But, then he proceeded to blow me away with a little classical. And I said, "Do you play any bluegrass?" He said, "Not really." And he started to play a little breakdown, and then I said, "Well, man." I said, "Do you play anything else?" He said, "I'm really a guitar player." He said, "But there's too many of them around." He said, "So I've been concentrating on these other instruments." I said, "Well, what else do you play?" He said, "Well, I play some pedal steel." I go, "Well, that's it, right there." I said, "What else?" He said, 5-string banjo, and just, it was nuts. So I said, "Come on the stage." And he said, "What do we play?" I said, "It's in the key of G," which everything was, anyway, because I only know one chord. So, and I mean, David's so accomplished that, it just jumped right in. And it then became the band for the Rolling Thunder Revue. And it's the only band that ever went out on a national tour of auditoriums and sheds. And it had 7 guitar players 7 guitar players on stage at the same time, all in tune, on a good day. And on a good day, it was sublime, really great. Sometimes it got a little crazy, especially if Ramblin' Jack got out of tune a little bit. But Roger McGuinn had an electric 12-string, and oh man, it was
Jack
great.
played electric guitar for the first time on that tour.
Yeah, and Jack played electric guitar for the first time. Oh, there's a picture of him. Look at that. Look at that ragtag. And the point of the whole thing is that we would try to make, people didn't used to have rugs on the floor, and actually we decided to make the stage into our living room. And we had a working bar, literally, with kegs and stuff, and people pulling beers and chairs and couches on the stage. And people, it was like built on what the opera used to be like back in the Ryman days when the acts would be, when it was a radio show and the acts would be at center stage doing the radio show and everybody else would be milling around behind them. I mean, you would go to the Ryman and you would just not know where to look because, everybody was like, all the stars were on stage at the same time. And so that was like my idea, is to try to make it into a living room kind of thing, and for everybody. And people did. It was a 4.5-hour show, and people would come out and they would do their part, and then they would sit down and have a beer and watch the rest of the act. And people would come and join us, right? People would come along.
They'd come to visit and then wouldn't leave.
Yeah, they would. Like Joni Mitchell came to visit. She never left. She just got on the bus, and the Bruce Springsteen came. Patti Smith was there. It took too many. Rick Danko, from the band. It's like a, name-dropping contest. Anyway, yet I ramble.
You were there the whole time, right? Because it did kind of constantly change and evolve as you went along, and you were sort of the wrangler of making sure everybody got on time.
Oh, well, on time. Yeah, that's another story. But, we had fun.
Yeah,
we had a good time.
That's great. Sort of unusual tour.
Yeah, it was a very unusual tour. All the people that worked everybody that worked on this tour, including the bus drivers, were all writers of one kind or another. The baggage handlers were a bunch of beatnik poets, Peter Orlovsky and Ann Waldman and Allen Ginsberg. They were the baggage handlers, because of Bob Dylan, of course, But it kept it poetically sane, And we would do things like we'd pull off the road and go visit Jack Kerouac's grave, at random, and, it was pretty cool. It was in the fall, so the leaves were just right, and man, it was good.
Great.